The observation deck of the Galactic Research Station stretched wide and open, its transparent walls offering a breathtaking view of the cosmos beyond. Stars glittered like scattered diamonds against the endless black, and a distant nebula painted the darkness in shades of deep purple and gold. Inside the station, the air hummed with the soft drone of life support systems and the gentle chatter of dozens of different species going about their daily routines. Dr. Nina Foster stood near one of the massive windows, a steaming cup of coffee cradled in her hands. She had been working at the station for nearly 8 months now, long enough to feel comfortable among her alien colleagues but still short enough that she found their conversations endlessly fascinating. Today was no different. The Xenobiology department's common room occupied a large section of the observation deck. Comfortable seating arrangements were scattered throughout the space, each designed to accommodate the wildly different body types of the station's diverse population. Some seats were low and wide, others tall with spaces for tails or wings, and a few were simply cushioned platforms for species that preferred to rest in ways humans might find unusual. Right now, about a dozen researchers had gathered in an informal circle near the center of the room. Their voices rose and fell in animated discussion, and Nina could hear the excitement in their tones even from where she stood. She smiled to herself and took another sip of coffee before wandering closer to listen. Krell was speaking, his deep voice rumbling like distant thunder. He was a member of the Torgon species, massive bear-like creatures covered in thick gray fur. Standing upright, Krell towered over most of the other researchers at nearly 3 meters tall. His powerful arms ended in hands tipped with claws that could easily rip through metal plating, though Nina had only ever seen him use them to carefully manipulate delicate scientific instruments. "The shadow stalker of my world is the undisputed apex predator," Krell explained, his amber eyes gleaming with pride. "They stand 4 meters at the shoulder, perhaps more for the largest males. Their claws are like curved daggers, and their jaws can crush bone as if it were soft clay. Even with our modern weapons, hunting one is considered an act of either great courage or great foolishness." Several of the other researchers nodded appreciatively. Nina noticed a few of the smaller species shifting nervously in their seats, clearly uncomfortable with the mental image Krell had painted. Civic spoke next, her serpentine body coiled elegantly on one of the platform seats. Her scales shimmered with an iridescent quality, shifting from green to blue as she moved. "Impressive, Krell, but I would argue that size alone does not determine dominance. The void serpents of my homeworld grow to 15 meters in length, sometimes longer. They ruled our oceans for millions of years, fear incarnate to every species that swam or sailed." "Did your people hunt them?" asked a small furry creature named Bex. Her species resembled what humans might call a cross between a cat and a rabbit, with large expressive eyes and soft white fur. Civix's head swayed from side to side in what Nina had learned was her species' equivalent of a nod. "Eventually, yes. But only after we developed energy weapons powerful enough to penetrate their armored hides. Before that, we simply avoided the deep waters where they lived. To encounter a void serpent was to accept death." The conversation continued in this vein for several more minutes. A crystalline being named Tef described the silicon-based predators of his world, creatures that could camouflage themselves as rock formations before striking. A floating, jellyfish-like researcher spoke of atmospheric predators that hunted in the clouds of her gas giant home. Each species seemed eager to share the most terrifying creature their world had produced. Nina listened quietly, fascinated by the diversity of evolution across the galaxy. She had heard similar discussions before, but they never got old. The sheer variety of life in the universe was staggering, and each new story added another piece to her understanding of how different worlds shape different solutions to the same basic problems of survival. Then Pip spoke up. The young insectoid researcher was relatively new to the station, having arrived only a few weeks earlier. His species stood about waist-high to Nina, with a chitinous exoskeleton that gleamed dark green under the lights. 4 arms gestured as he spoke, and his multifaceted eyes reflected the faces of everyone in the circle. "Dr. Foster," Pip said, his voice carrying a musical quality that Nina had learned to associate with curiosity in his species. "We have heard from many researchers about their homeworlds, but you have been quiet. What is Earth's apex predator?" The question seemed to catch the attention of the entire group. Conversations died away as faces, heads, and various sensory organs turned toward Nina. She realized that in all the months she had worked here, this particular topic had never come up with her directly involved. She had listened to others share their stories, but no one had thought to ask the human representative. Nina set her coffee cup down on a nearby table. She could feel the weight of their attention, the genuine curiosity in their gazes. Some of them had probably already researched Earth's fauna and had their own ideas about what she might say. Others were clearly waiting to hear about some massive creature, perhaps something with enormous teeth or venomous fangs. She took a slow breath, letting the moment stretch out. Then, with a slight smile playing at the corners of her mouth, Nina simply raised her right hand. Not in a wave, not in a gesture of greeting, but held up at about chest height, fingers slightly curved, like she was presenting something for inspection. The room fell completely silent. For a long moment, nobody moved. Several of the researchers looked at each other, clearly confused. Bex tilted her head to one side, ears twitching. Krell's massive brow furrowed. Even Civix, normally quite composed, seemed uncertain. "I do not understand," Pip said finally, all four of his hands making small confused gestures. "Are you indicating that you will tell us? Or is this some human gesture I have not learned?" Nina's smile widened just a fraction. She kept her hand raised, her dark eyes moving slowly around the circle, meeting the gaze of each researcher in turn. Some of them were beginning to realize. She could see it in the way their postures changed, in the sudden stillness that came over them. "No, Pip," Nina said softly, her voice carrying clearly in the quiet room. "I'm not offering to tell you. I'm showing you." She flexed her fingers slightly, drawing attention to the hand itself. "The answer to your question is standing right here. Earth's apex predator is me. It's humans." The silence deepened, and Nina could practically see the thoughts racing behind their eyes as they tried to process what she had just said. The silence that followed Nina's statement stretched uncomfortably. Several of the researchers exchanged glances, clearly uncertain whether the human was making some kind of joke. Krell leaned back in his seat, his massive arms crossed over his chest. His expression suggested polite skepticism. "With respect, Dr. Foster," Krell said slowly, "humans are not particularly large. You have no natural armor, no claws, no venomous bite. Your teeth are flat and small. How can your species be an apex predator?" Nina had expected this reaction. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a small data pad, tapping its surface a few times. A holographic projector in the center of the room flickered to life, responding to her device. The three-dimensional image that appeared showed a massive cat, golden-furred and powerfully built, standing over a fallen prey animal. "This is a lion," Nina said, walking closer to the hologram. "It weighs about 200 kilograms, maybe more for the males. It has claws as long as my fingers, teeth designed to tear through flesh, and jaw muscles that can crush bone. It can run at speeds of 80 kilometers per hour in short bursts. On Earth, in the regions where it lives, it is one of the most dangerous predators." The researchers leaned forward, studying the image with interest. Civix made a soft hissing sound of appreciation. "Now this looks like a proper predator. Surely this is Earth's apex species?" Nina shook her head. She swiped her data pad and the image changed. Now it showed a group of humans, dressed in simple clothing, carrying spears. They surrounded a lion, working together with careful coordination. The lion looked powerful, but the humans looked determined. "Humans hunt lions," Nina said simply. "We have hunted them for thousands of years. They are dangerous, yes. They kill humans sometimes. But when humans decide to hunt a lion, the lion usually dies." She changed the image again. This time, a massive brown bear appeared in the hologram, standing upright on its back legs. It towered at an impressive height, its paws tipped with long curved claws. "This is a bear. Some species grow to over 600 kilograms. They are strong enough to break a tree trunk with their paws. They can run faster than any human. Their sense of smell is better than almost any other creature on Earth." Nina paused, looking around at her audience. "Humans hunt them too." Bex's ears flattened against her head. "But why? If they are so dangerous, why not simply avoid them? Sometimes we hunt them for food. Sometimes for their fur. Sometimes because they threaten our homes or livestock." Nina swiped again and the hologram shifted to show an underwater scene. A massive shark glided through blue water, rows of triangular teeth visible in its open mouth. "This is a great white shark. It lives in Earth's oceans. It has been hunting in the seas for millions of years, barely changed because it is so perfectly designed for killing. Its teeth can bite through metal. It can smell a single drop of blood in an Olympic-sized pool of water." "The oceans," Tef said, his crystalline body chiming softly. "Surely humans cannot hunt in the oceans? You are land-dwelling creatures." Nina smiled. "We learned to hunt in the oceans too. We built boats and ships. We made harpoons and nets. Humans have hunted whales that weigh as much as 100 tons. We have hunted sharks, dolphins, fish of every size and type. There is nowhere in Earth's oceans where humans have not gone to hunt. The image changed again, showing a crocodile with its massive jaws open wide, displaying rows of conical teeth. Its armored body looked almost prehistoric. Crocodiles have existed for over 200 million years. They survived whatever killed the dinosaurs. Their bite force is the strongest of any living creature on Earth. They can hold their breath underwater for hours, waiting to ambush prey. They are patient, intelligent for reptiles, and incredibly dangerous. Nina looked around the circle of researchers. Humans hunt them. We make clothing from their skin. We eat their meat. We even keep small ones as pets. Pip's antennae twitched nervously. But you said humans have no claws, no armor, no natural weapons. How do you hunt these creatures? We use tools, Nina said. She changed the hologram to show a progression of human weapons. First, simple stone tools. Then spears with carved points. Bows and arrows. Metal swords and axes. Rifles. Humans learned to make weapons millions of years ago. We started with rocks and sticks. We learned to chip stones into sharp edges. We learned to attach those edges to wooden handles to make spears and axes. The hologram showed early humans working together, surrounding a large animal with coordinated movements. We also learned to hunt in groups. 1 human against a lion might die. 10 humans with spears working together, communicating, planning their attack? The lion does not stand a chance. Krell uncrossed his arms, leaning forward now with genuine interest. Group hunting is not uncommon among predators. My people's ancestors also hunted in packs. True, Nina agreed. But humans took it further. We developed complex language. We could plan hunts days in advance. We could share knowledge across generations. A young human could learn from the experiences of grandparents who hunted 50 years earlier. We accumulated knowledge in ways other predators could not. She changed the image to show fire. Humans sat around a blazing campfire, cooking meat on sticks. We learned to control fire. This is important for many reasons. Fire keeps us warm, which means we can live in cold environments where other predators cannot survive. Fire cooks our food, which means we can eat things that would make us sick if eaten raw. Fire scares away dangerous animals at night. And fire can be used as a weapon. Civix's scales rippled with what Nina had learned to recognize as unease. You are describing a species that adapts rather than evolves specific features. This is unusual. Exactly, Nina said, her voice carrying a note of pride. Most apex predators are perfectly designed for one specific environment. They have exactly the right claws, teeth, speed, or armor for their world. But if that environment changes, they might die out. Humans are different. We adapt through tools and intelligence instead of through evolution. When humans moved to cold environments, we did not wait millions of years to grow thick fur. We killed animals that had thick fur and wore their skins as clothing. The hologram shifted to show humans in different environments. Desert landscapes with humans dressed in light, flowing robes. Frozen Arctic scenes with humans in thick furs. Dense jungles with humans using machetes to cut through vegetation. Mountain peaks with humans using climbing equipment. Humans live everywhere on Earth, Nina continued. Every continent except Antarctica has permanent human populations, and even Antarctica has research stations where humans live year-round now. We live in deserts where the temperature reaches 50 degrees. We live in Arctic regions where it drops to -40. We live at sea level and in mountains 3,000 meters high. No other large predator on Earth has this kind of range. Nina could see that her audience was beginning to understand, but she knew the full picture would be even more shocking. She tapped her data pad again, and the hologram shifted to show massive skeletal remains displayed in what appeared to be a museum setting. These are the bones of a woolly mammoth, Nina said quietly. They stood 4 meters tall at the shoulder and weighed 6 tons. They had thick fur to protect them from cold and long curved tusks for defense. They lived during the Ice Age in some of the harshest conditions Earth has ever experienced. She paused, letting them absorb the size of the creature. Humans hunted them to extinction. Bex made a small sound of distress. Extinction? You mean your species killed all of them? Yes. Humans with stone-tipped spears, working in coordinated groups, killed these enormous creatures for their meat, fur, and bones. We did not just kill a few. We killed so many that none remained. Nina changed the image to show another massive skeleton. This is a giant ground sloth. It weighed 4 tons and had claws as long as my forearm. Humans hunted them to extinction too. The hologram continued to cycle through images. Each one showed the remains of massive prehistoric creatures. Giant bears that stood 4 meters tall. Enormous flightless birds with beaks like axes. Massive armored creatures that looked like oversized armadillos. With each image, Nina provided the same ending to the story. Extinct. Hunted by humans. Gone. Krell shifted in his seat, his earlier confidence replaced by something closer to concern. How many species did humans eliminate? We are not entirely certain, Nina admitted. But the evidence suggests that wherever humans migrated, large animal extinctions followed within a few thousand years. When humans reached Australia 40,000 years ago, most of the megafauna there disappeared shortly after. Giant kangaroos, massive wombats, enormous lizards. All gone. When humans crossed into North America about 15,000 years ago, over 70% of large mammal species went extinct within 3,000 years. Civix's coils tightened around her seat. Surely not all of these extinctions were caused by hunting? Climate change played a role, Nina conceded. But these animals had survived previous climate changes over millions of years. The difference this time was that humans had arrived. Humans with weapons, fire, and the ability to hunt in organized groups. Even creatures that had no natural predators suddenly found themselves being hunted. She changed the hologram to show a large wolf-like creature with a massive skull and powerful jaws. This is a dire wolf. It was larger and stronger than modern wolves, built to hunt large prey. It was a competitor to humans hunting the same animals we wanted to hunt. Humans eliminated them. Not just in one region but everywhere they existed. The image shifted to show another fierce predator. The cave bear. 3 meters long and over a ton in weight. They needed caves for shelter during winter hibernation. Humans wanted those same caves. So humans killed the bears and took the caves. Eventually there were no cave bears left. Tef's crystalline form chimed with a sound like breaking glass. You are describing a pattern of total dominance. Not just survival but the active elimination of anything that competed with humans? Yes, Nina said simply. And it was not just large predators. Humans reshaped entire ecosystems. She showed images of forests being cleared, grasslands being turned into farmland, rivers being redirected. When humans decided we wanted to control an area, we removed everything that threatened us or competed with us. Predators, prey animals, even plants that we did not find useful. A reptilian researcher named Koth who had been silent until now finally spoke. His scales were a dark green, and his eyes were cold and calculating. I find this difficult to believe, Dr. Foster. Humans are small. You have thin skin that tears easily. You have no natural weapons. I could break you in half with my bare hands. His tone was not threatening, merely factual. How can such a fragile species be so dangerous? Nina had been waiting for this challenge. She smiled and changed the hologram to show a vast grassland under a blazing sun. A human runner appeared, jogging steadily across the plain. In the distance, an antelope-like creature bounded away in graceful leaps. Let me show you something called persistence hunting, Nina said. This is one of the ways early humans hunted, and some groups still practice it today. Watch carefully. The hologram played out like a nature documentary. The human jogged at a steady pace, not particularly fast but constant and unwavering. The antelope had sprinted away in panic, quickly disappearing over a ridge. But the human did not stop. He kept jogging, following the tracks in the dirt. The antelope is much faster than the human, Nina narrated. It can run at speeds of 90 kilometers per hour. The human can only run at about 15 kilometers per hour at a steady pace. But watch what happens. The hologram showed time passing. The sun moved across the sky. The human kept jogging, never stopping, never giving up. Eventually he spotted the antelope again in the distance. The animal saw him and ran away again just as fast as before. The antelope runs away. But it cannot maintain that speed for long. It overheats. It needs to rest. Nina pointed at the hologram. The human does not need to rest. Humans have something almost no other land animal has. We can sweat. She gestured to her own skin. Our bodies are covered in sweat glands. When we overheat, we secrete water through our skin. As that water evaporates, it cools us down. This means humans can run for hours without overheating. Most animals cannot do this. They must stop and pant to cool down, or they will die from heat exhaustion. The hologram continued. Again and again the human spotted the antelope. Again and again the antelope ran away. But each time it ran for a shorter distance. Its sides heaved with exhaustion. Foam appeared around its mouth. Its legs began to shake. Finally, after hours of pursuit, the antelope simply collapsed. It lay on the ground, unable to rise, its body temperature dangerously high. The human walked up to it calmly and ended its life with a single spear thrust. The researchers sat in stunned silence. "This is how humans hunted before we had advanced weapons," Nina explained. "We simply ran after our prey until it died from exhaustion. No other predator hunts this way. Lions sprint for a short burst and give up if they miss. Wolves can run for longer but still need to rest. Humans can run at a steady pace for 8 hours or more. We can chase prey across distances of 40 kilometers. We can do this in the heat of midday when other predators must rest in shade." Koth's scales had paled slightly. "That is not hunting. That is relentless pursuit. That is terrifying." "Yes," Nina agreed. "From the prey's perspective, humans are like something from a nightmare. An enemy that never stops, never gives up, and never gets tired. You can run but the human will follow. You can hide but the human will track you. You can fight but the human will come back with more humans and better weapons. There is no escape." Nina watched the expressions on the faces around her shift from curiosity to something closer to unease. She knew what she had shown them so far was only part of the picture. The real truth about human predation went deeper and darker than simple hunting for food. "I mentioned that humans hunt in groups," Nina continued, her voice calm and measured. "But I did not fully explain what this means." She tapped her data pad, and the hologram changed to show an aerial view of a vast plain. Hundreds of human figures moved in coordinated patterns, surrounding a herd of large animals. "This is a communal hunt from about 10,000 years ago, recreated from archaeological evidence. Notice the number of humans involved. Not 5 or 10 but hundreds. All working together with a single purpose." The hologram showed the humans moving in precise formation, driving the herd toward a cliff edge. "Humans can communicate complex ideas. We can plan strategies that involve hundreds of individuals all playing specific roles. Some drive the prey from behind. Others block escape routes on the sides. Still others wait at the destination to finish the job." The hologram showed the tragic conclusion as dozens of animals fell from the cliff. Nina saw several researchers look away. "This kind of coordination is rare in nature," Nina continued. "Some species hunt in packs of 10 or 20. But humans can organize hundreds or even thousands of individuals toward a single goal. And we do not just do this for hunting animals." She changed the image to show what appeared to be an ancient battlefield. Thousands of human soldiers stood in organized formations, carrying weapons and shields. Humans also hunt each other. The silence in the room became heavy and oppressive. Beck spoke in a whisper. "You hunt your own species?" "Throughout our history, yes. Humans have fought wars against other groups of humans for resources, territory, beliefs, or sometimes simply because of old grudges." Nina's expression remained neutral, but there was a weight to her words. "We have developed this into something almost like an art form. Military strategy, tactics, weapons designed specifically to kill other humans. We study it. We teach it. We honor those who are skilled at it." The hologram showed progression through human warfare. Ancient armies with spears and swords. Medieval soldiers with armor and siege weapons. Modern soldiers with rifles and body armor. Each image showed increasingly sophisticated methods of human-on-human violence. "We have weapons now that can kill from distances of 2 kilometers or more," Nina said. "A human with a rifle can end your life from so far away that you would never see them, never hear them, never know they were there until it was too late. We have explosives that can destroy entire buildings. We have developed poisons and diseases. We have created weapons that can kill thousands of people at once." Krell's voice was quiet, almost hesitant. "Why would you develop such things if they are meant for your own kind?" "Because we are very good at holding grudges," Nina replied. "And we are very good at viewing other groups of humans as different from ourselves. Throughout history, humans have divided themselves into tribes, nations, religions, and countless other groups. And often these groups fight each other. A human can remember an insult or injury for years, decades even, and plan revenge accordingly. We can pass down hatred from parent to child across generations." She changed the hologram to show a group of humans tracking through a forest. They moved silently, reading signs on the ground and broken branches on trees. Humans are also exceptional trackers. We can follow a trail that is days old. We can read the marks left behind by prey or enemies and know exactly where they went, how fast they were moving, whether they were injured or healthy. We can predict where they will go next based on understanding their behavior. The image shifted to show a human sitting patiently in a tree, perfectly still, waiting. Hours seemed to pass in the hologram, but the human barely moved. "We can wait. Some predators have patience, but human patience is extraordinary. A human hunter can sit motionless for hours, even days, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. We can endure discomfort, hunger, cold, heat, all while waiting for our target to make a mistake. Civix's coils had tightened even further around her seat. Her scales had lost some of their iridescent shine. This sounds less like predation and more like warfare. For humans, the line between hunting and warfare has always been thin, Nina admitted. The same skills work for both. Tracking, patience, coordination, weapons, strategy. A human hunting a deer uses the same basic approach as a human hunting an enemy soldier. We are adaptable. We apply the same deadly efficiency to any target we choose. She brought up another image, this one showing wolves. But these wolves looked different from wild ones. They sat calmly next to humans, some being petted, others working alongside humans to herd sheep. Humans also do something that few other species have mastered. We domesticate other predators. Nina gestured at the wolves. These animals were once competitors. They hunted the same prey we did. They were dangerous to humans, especially to our children. So what did humans do? We did not just kill all the wolves. We captured some. We bred them selectively over thousands of years. We changed them genetically until they were no longer wolves but dogs. Loyal to humans. Obedient to humans. Willing to help humans hunt other animals. The hologram showed various dog breeds. Tiny lap dogs. Massive guard dogs. Sleek hunting dogs. All descended from wolves, all shaped by human intervention. We did this with many species. Horses, cattle, pigs, chickens. We took wild animals and changed them to serve our purposes. We made them dependent on us. We control their breeding, their food, their entire lives. This is a form of dominance that goes beyond simple predation. We do not just kill and eat. We control and reshape. Koth had been silent for several minutes, but now he spoke again. His voice carried a nervous edge that had not been there before. Dr. Foster, you have explained how humans hunt other creatures. But surely there must be something on Earth that hunts humans? Some predator that sees humans as prey? Every species has natural enemies. Nina turned to face him directly. Her expression was pleasant, but something in her eyes made several researchers shift uncomfortably. That is an excellent question, Koth. Let me think about that. She made a show of considering, tapping her chin thoughtfully. The hologram shifted to show various predators. Lions, tigers, crocodiles, sharks, bears. Each one appeared briefly and then faded. There are animals that can kill humans, Nina said slowly. In fact, many animals can kill a human if the circumstances are right. A bear protecting her cubs. A shark that mistakes a human for a seal. A snake that is stepped on accidentally. Humans do die from animal attacks. She paused and her smile grew colder. But the important word in your question was natural predators. Animals that actively hunt humans as prey. Animals that see humans and think food, the way a lion sees a zebra. The hologram went dark. There are no such animals. Not anymore. Nina's voice was quiet but clear. There used to be. There were large cats that specialized in hunting early humans. There were enormous crocodiles that considered humans a regular part of their diet. There were even some species of hyena that actively hunted human children. She let the weight of that statement settle before continuing. We eliminated them all. Not just killed them until they left us alone. We hunted them to extinction. If an animal developed a taste for human flesh, if a species began to see humans as prey, we erased that entire species from existence. We made examples of them. We made sure that every other predator on Earth learned a simple lesson. Humans are not food. We are the hunters, never the hunted. 3 weeks had passed since Nina's presentation in the common room. The atmosphere in the xenobiology department had shifted noticeably in that time. Her colleagues still greeted her warmly, still invited her to lunch, still collaborated on research projects. But there was a new awareness in the way they looked at her, a subtle caution in how they moved around her. Nina had noticed researchers stepping aside to let her pass in corridors, even when there was plenty of room for both. She had seen the way conversations sometimes paused when she entered a room, then resumed with forced casualness. It was not overt fear exactly, but a kind of careful respect that had not been there before. She understood. She had shown them something uncomfortable, something they could not unknow. Every time they looked at her now, they remembered that humans were apex predators. That these small, seemingly fragile creatures had conquered an entire planet through intelligence, persistence, and ruthless efficiency. The research station hosted a social gathering every few weeks, a chance for the various departments to mingle in an informal setting. Tonight's event was held in one of the recreation areas, a large space with soft lighting and comfortable seating arrangements. Music played softly in the background, some kind of ambient soundscape meant to be pleasant to as many species as possible. Nina stood near a refreshment table, sipping a glass of water and watching the crowd. She saw small groups clustered throughout the room, engaged in conversation and laughter. But she also noticed the empty space around her. A radius of about 3 meters where no one seemed to want to stand. She sighed quietly. This was getting old. Then she saw Pip making his way through the crowd toward her. The young insectoid researcher moved with the characteristic quick, precise steps of his species. His forearms gestured nervously as he approached, and his antennae twitched with what Nina had learned to recognize as anxiety. "Dr. Foster," Pip said, stopping a polite distance away. "May I speak with you?" "Of course, Pip. You can call me Nina, you know." She smiled, trying to put him at ease. Pip's mandibles clicked softly, a sign of his nervousness. "Nina, then. I wanted to apologize for my question that day, and for how everyone has been treating you since." "You do not need to apologize for asking a question," Nina said gently. "Curiosity is not a crime. And you certainly are not responsible for how others react. Still, I feel I should say something." Pip's antennae drooped slightly. "When I first came to this station, I thought humans were fascinating. You are bipedal like several species I have studied, but you use tools in such creative ways. Your art is beautiful. Your music is moving. I wanted to learn more about your culture." He paused, seeming to gather his courage. "But after your presentation, all I could think about was that you are a predator. A very efficient predator. And it made me afraid." Nina set down her water glass. "And now, are you still afraid?" "I am trying not to be," Pip admitted. "That is why I am here. I thought perhaps if we talked more, if I understood better, the fear would go away. Or at least become smaller." "That is very brave of you," Nina said, and she meant it. "Most people who are afraid of something prefer to avoid it. You are choosing to confront your fear instead. That takes real courage." Pip's antennae perked up slightly. "Do you think I am being foolish?" "Not at all." Nina gestured to a nearby seating area. "Would you like to sit? I can tell you more about humans if you want." The parts one did not include in my presentation. They settled into seats designed to accommodate both their very different body types. Nina leaned back comfortably while Pip arranged his legs in the folded position his species preferred. "You showed us how dangerous humans can be," Pip began carefully. "But you are not dangerous to me right now." "Why is that?" "Because being an apex predator means having the power to choose," Nina said. "Yes, humans can be incredibly dangerous. We can hunt, kill, and dominate. But we can also choose not to do those things. We can choose mercy. We can choose cooperation. We can choose to protect instead of destroy." She pulled out her data pad and brought up a new set of images on a small holographic display between them. This time the images showed something different. Humans carefully tending to injured animals. Scientists monitoring endangered species. Vast nature reserves protected from development. After humans became the dominant species on Earth, something interesting happened, Nina explained. "We realized that we had the power to destroy everything, but we also had the power to preserve and protect. Many humans began to feel responsible for the other species on our planet." The hologram showed a massive whale swimming through the ocean, a tracking device attached to its fin. "Remember when I told you humans hunted whales? We hunted them so efficiently that we nearly drove several species to extinction. But then we stopped. We made laws against hunting them. We created protected areas where they could live safely. We spend millions of dollars studying them and keeping them healthy." Pip leaned forward, his antennae quivering with interest. "But why? If they have no use to you, why protect them?" "Because we learned that an ecosystem is like a web. Everything is connected. When we destroy one species, it affects many others. But more than that, we learned that having power means having responsibility. Just because we can hunt something to extinction does not mean we should." She changed the image to show humans working with various animals. A person bottle feeding a baby tiger. Veterinarians treating a wounded eagle. Researchers carefully tagging a crocodile for study. "These are all animals that could kill a human," Nina pointed out. "The tiger, the eagle with its talons, the crocodile. But look at how the humans interact with them. Gently. Carefully. With respect and care." "I do not understand," Pip said. "These animals are dangerous to you, but you save them?" "Because we can afford to," Nina said simply. "When you are at the top of the food chain, when nothing threatens your survival as a species, you have the luxury of being kind. We do not need to kill every predator we see. We can share the planet with them. We can even appreciate their beauty and their role in nature." The hologram shifted to show something that made Pip's antennae shoot straight up in surprise. It was a human child, perhaps 5 years old, hugging a large dog. The dog's jaws could easily have hurt the child, but instead it sat calmly, its tail wagging, its expression gentle. "This is what I find most interesting about humans," Nina said softly. "We have this capacity for violence, this history of being ruthless predators. But we also have an enormous capacity for affection and bonding. We form emotional connections with other species. We keep animals as companions, not as food or tools, but simply because we enjoy their company. That dog loves that child. That child loves that dog. Neither sees the other as a threat.